Welcome to the Paddle and Portage podcast.
I love this podcast.
That's good because you spent a lot of time working on it. Today's episode actually starts back in 2021. If you were paying attention to what was happening in the wilderness at that time, this will no doubt jog your memory. There were numerous fires burning, both in the wilderness, near the wilderness, adjacent to the wilderness. The resources for fighting wildfires was incredibly stressed. We produced a piece on this for the Boundary Waters podcast for WTIP. I was in the wilderness when the evacuation order was issued and the closure of the partial wilderness and then the entire wilderness by Connie Cummins, which
the former forest supervisor, Superior National Forest.
Yes, which led us to an unusual moment on the Gunflint Trail at Rockwood Lodge.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest fire, the one that got the name people might remember, is the Greenwood Fire, 2021. But there were these fires up by Sawbill, the Whelp Fire. Mm-hmm. That's the one that was nearest to you when the wilderness shut down when you were in there.
Yeah, I could see the plume from where I was, which is that they closed basically like the Lady Chain area from Queeshwee Lake over to Sawbill and north of there up to the fire, and then I think 24 hours later shut down the entire wilderness. And, you know, the reasons being varied and are not what this podcast is about.
Right.
But it led us to the outfitting building at Rockwood Lodge. You were to appear on the Twin Cities PBS news show Almanac. And to facilitate that experience, there was a woman there in sort of a dual role, both sort of on vacation up the Gunflint and now working as the producer of the show in person with us.
That's right. Her name is Kari Kennedy. She is the producer of Almanac, this very, very popular show, hosted by Kathy Wurzer, a huge media personality in Minnesota, from Minnesota Public Radio and Almanac and other things that Kathy does, as well as Eric Escala, who has been a broadcast journalist in the Twin Cities for a long time. So Kathy and Eric host this show, and they have for decades. A lot of people consider it, including me, like the prominent news TV show in Minnesota history, not just like now. I mean, it is now. It's still very relevant, but for a long time and like ever. I mean, it's a great show.
And it's also a great show due to the multiple unsung heroes that work in collaboration to produce that behind the scenes. Number one is Kari.
Yeah, that's right. And as you said, that summer, 2021, that August, she happened to be staying at Rockwood Lodge. And just happenstance brought it to be that we were going to be on Zoom to do that update about the closure of the wilderness, talk about the fires, what's it like up there. I mean, if you recall, there was ash falling in Grand Marais from the Greenwood fire. It was a very real time up here in northeastern Minnesota.
Yeah, to call this scene apocalyptic would be accurate. Mm-hmm. You appeared on Almanac. We made our way through that fire season in summer. No catastrophic events beyond the damage of the Greenwood fire, which was hard. But it started a relationship with Kari that still exists today. You are going to tell her story with a little more insight beyond the producer of a show.
That's right. And what a lot of that is really tied to her profession and being the producer of this show, and what a place like the Boundary Waters, the Gunflint Trail, this area mean for somebody who has such an intense job of lining up this news program week after week after week? After a brief word from our sponsors, we're going to head up the Gunflint Trail.
This episode of the podcast is supported by Williams & Hall Outfitters near Ely. Williams & Hall Outfitters has been on the shores of Moose Lake for over 50 years. They have a reputation of quality and service that is second to none in the canoe country. In addition to their outfitting services, they have a great lodge to start and end your trip, as well as great equipment and food for your trip. At Williams & Hall, they're on a mission to create and deliver adventures for their customers that will be memorable, safe, and even a little bit life-changing. Want the customers that come there to go into the Boundary Waters in Quetico and have that trip of a lifetime. It's more than just a business for the crew at Williams & Hall. It is their passion. You know it right when you get there. You can see it. Learn more at williamsandhall.com and find them on the shores of Moose Lake near Ely. It's your gateway to the Boundary Waters.
Hello, I'm Bear Paulson from North Star Canoes. This is titled Minnesota is Unique. Sven and Ole got stuck here and never left. We have more Scandinavians per capita than the countries clustered around the Baltic Sea. We are the land of lutefisk and lefse. Rocky and Bullwinkle added to our uncommon fame. Frostbite Falls is the icebox of the nation. I cheered when it was below zero for the Super Bowl in Minneapolis a while back. We needed that to cement our frigid reputation. Minnesota is also unique in having 3 major watersheds. From the BWCA, paddlers can go north to Hudson Bay, or east to the Atlantic, or with some portaging south down the Mississippi. North Star is unique too. We build canoes with an incredible blend of seaworthiness and efficiency. Seaworthiness means you'll be safe when the wind kicks up. Efficiency lets you get where you want to go. North Stars are easy to paddle on glassy days, and safe to paddle on rough ones. Rent a North Star at nearly all the BWCA outfitters, or purchase a new one from retailers nationwide.
Hi, I'm Kari Kennedy. I have been escaping to the wilderness for decades just to soothe my soul, and we paddle and we hike, and we always say it's our home away from home. We see the Cook County sign on Highway 61 and often announce, "We're home." We go in out of Cross Bay a lot. It's an area we like. We love Long Island. We have gone through Sawbill a lot. We go through Liz a lot and go to Gaskin.
Kari made her first trip to the Boundary Waters in the early 90s. Even though the weather wasn't ideal for that first trip, something clicked.
We had really good friends who had been doing canoe trips, and so they just invited us to come. And we're like, sure, that sounds like fun. We'll come. We had never done it. We had car camped at state parks. That's all I'd ever done. But they had been doing it for years, and we would go camping with them other places, and they invited us to go. And we're like, okay, just tell us what to do. How do we do this? So they showed us how to pack, and we went. So it's funny because it was out of Ely. It was in 1991. I was not a big outdoors person as a kid, and I was right out of college, and some of our good friends were going on a canoe trip and invited us to come. And we're like, sure, we'll do that. And we went all the way into Alice Lake in one day, through Lake One. 10 hours. We were young and foolish, and we portaged in an entire volleyball set, net, poles, everything, because we were going to play sand beach volleyball, and we did. So, but I look back on that, I'm like, what were we thinking? So we went for a couple years, then my husband blew out his knee playing softball, and then we had kids, and it was 15 years before we came back. And oddly enough, the Ham Lake fire is what brought us back. Sue from Tuscarora was writing a blog that Minnesota Public Radio linked to on their website, and I started reading it. I'm like, why did we stop going to the Boundary Waters? We're busy, we have kids, they play sports, but we take them car camping. Why haven't we ever done that? And we rented a cabin from Sue and Andy the next summer, and we started going on trips, and we're here more and more all the time ever since then.
What else do you remember other than like the volleyball and the sort of like what were we doing out there from that first trip?
It was really fun. It was really tiring. My husband was surprised I enjoyed it so much, and now I'm the one who likes it most. And it was really windy. We tell our kids all the time about it. It was an incredibly windy trip. It was so windy on the sand beach. We actually, the first morning, we set up a windbreak just so we could cook, and it didn't work. And we ate crunchy pancakes because they were sand pancakes. And we've talked about them the rest of our lives. We discovered recently, our friends Eric and Lisa, their adult children are as tired of hearing about sand pancakes as our adult children are. That story again. But we loved it. We kept going back.
So basically what happens is Kari falls in love with the Boundary Waters, so she keeps coming back. On some of those return trips to the Boundary Waters, Kari started to discover more than just the sense of place. She started to interact with and meet the people of this place. Kari and her paddling crew started to have interactions with some context and meaning with people. Basically, they started to form friendships.
Yeah, I mean, we've slowly made some really good friends up here. We stay at a lot of different lodges and rent a lot of different cabins, and we've gotten to know a lot of people up here. We know the people at Rockwood really well. We know people at Poplar House. Bill and Cindy Hansen we got to know because we went through Sawbill all the time, and now they live in town, and so we see them a lot. Somebody I used to work with actually moved up here during COVID, and so we see them quite a bit, Chuck and Lori. Chuck actually works at WTIP. So so it's kind of, we have a community up here in a way that we don't in Ely, and that is a part of what keeps us coming back here. We just happen to make friends with people because we come all the time.
Another one of the people that Kari's met over the years is Carl Madsen, one of the co-owners of Rockwood Lodge. Carl and Kari have a lot of similarities, including their dry sense of humor. Here's Carl talking about Kari.
Not only does she love the Boundary Waters, she loves the Gunflint Trail, so it's kind of a nice combination for her because she's able to go to both the Gunflint Trail and the Boundary Waters, and she does it through different businesses throughout. She doesn't stop at just one. She really enjoys hanging out with the people at each one of them.
Do you remember the first time you met Kari? Did you know what she did for a living, or just how you met her and all that? Yeah,
it was actually a pretty cool story. She rented a cabin from us, and the people that were in the cabin right before her took a nice video of these foxes. This fox family had 4 baby kits, and that's pretty cool. And they were really small. And the people that were in the cabin took hours and hours of video. Well, I showed it to Kari, and she put it on her TV show. So that was really cool.
Nice. So the fox ended up on Almanac?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was one of those segue breaks. He's done with his little presentation, and then he kind of talks about these foxes, and then it's on there for, just a few seconds, but it was cool. And so it was fun because I got to work with her on that, and then she just kept coming back.
What do you talk about with Kari? Like work stuff, Gunflint stuff?
Yeah, she's got a pretty fun family. They're fun to hang out with, and I think she had a wedding up here with one of her family up here, and then she brings her everybody up here, and she comes up all of the time. I mean, it's funny because I turn around, I walk in the Poplar House, and there she is sitting there.
That's right, White Pine.
Mm-hmm.
And she was
Trail Center just the other day. I'm in there having breakfast, and the gal sitting next to me is a friend of Kari's, and all of a sudden Kari walks in. It's like, oh. No big deal. Kari's up here.
Yeah. Have you met others that are here so frequently and love this place as much as?
It is pretty funny. There are some groups that actually, like your German friends, right? They just got addicted to this one spot and they kept coming back over and over again. And then it's really fun because you got to see them throughout their life, and we're connected through social media, and we are able to watch each other's families, blossom and grow, and it's kind of fun. And she has connections with just a lot of businesses up and down the Gunflint Trail, and it's fun because she stays at each one. Mm-hmm. So she doesn't just focus on one. And it's funny because if you look at their social media photographs of their family and everything, each one of her family are all wearing Gunflint clothing, Rockwood, Tuscarora, Trail Center. They wear that stuff religiously when they're out on the vacations somewhere else in the U.S. or around the world, or just walking around the Twin Cities. That's what they wear.
We are up the Gunflint Trail, mid-trail area. Gonna run in and refuel at Loon's Nest Coffee. They're right here in the mid-trail area, and they're open from 7 a.m. until 2 p.m. through October, actually into late October. They've got Coffee in the Wild as a theme of the business, and Bob and the crew are just really friendly, outgoing people. And so check out their coffee whenever you need to. We're going to step right over here off the Gunflint and pop in and get some ourselves.
I'm gonna go get some coffee inside, Freddie. I'll see you in there.
Loon's Nest.
Oh, it's the best coffee on the Gunflint.
Just at the peak of Kari's comfort, understanding, familiarity, this sense of escape, adventure, reprieve, and enjoyment that she felt when she came to places like the Gunflint Trail and the Boundary Waters, she realized that she had a genetic health issue that was going to potentially prohibit or even end that connection to this place. At the very least, it had the potential to send her connection and engagement with the Boundary Waters into upheaval.
I have something called hip impingement, which means the bones in my hip socket didn't grow right. They grew too large, and they literally, like, the bone over the socket grew over the ball of it. And so it ended up over my lifetime just creating a lot of trouble, and in the end it tore the tendon in there. So I'd had hip troubles off and on my whole life, but physical therapy, in good shape, managed it, and it just got to the point where all of a sudden, like, there's something really wrong. And it took them a long time to figure it out. So I probably needed surgery for a year before I ended up having it. And they did surgery. They wouldn't replace my hip because it didn't need to be replaced, but the problem is what that means is they went in and they fixed things. So they sewed things up and they cut off a bunch of bone, and it takes a long time to recover from that.
Was that impacting your trips in these past few years and limiting what you were able to do?
Yeah, it was. 3 years ago, going in at Red Rock and going to American Point, we almost couldn't take because I was in so much pain. And my doctor said, let's try a cortisone shot. And it was a miracle. I'm like, I don't hurt anymore at all. So that gave me a few months of relief, and it meant that I could take a trip that I'd wanted to take. It was a trip we had planned during COVID and then canceled. I decided I wanted to see if I could complete an alphabet of lakes. And so I wanted to camp on Zephyr. But I also wanted to go through and see some other lakes. So we did this big loop and saw waterfalls and ended up camping on Zephyr. So I was able to take that trip. But and that was in August of 2023. By New Year's week, we were up here staying at Tusk. We often stay there for New Year's, and we snowshoed to Tuscarora Lake, and I had trouble getting back. And I think that was the beginning of the end. Like, they did another cortisone shot, didn't work. I just couldn't. So I was having trouble walking for months until they figured out what was really wrong.
And so 24 was like the SAG motorized hanging on an island type thing, or what was that, or nothing at all?
Nothing.
Shoot, yeah, okay.
Yeah, we tried. First we had a big trip planned, then we canceled that. We were going to do a motor trip. Then I went car camping in the spring, and I couldn't even sit in a chair. Like, it hurt to sit in a chair. I was sitting on a cooler by the campfire, like I was still in college. I'm like, I don't want to sit on a cooler. So we just went home. So we figured out, we ended up renting some cabin time up here. We found a chair that I could sit on, and we just brought it with everywhere. It was a fold-up chair. So we were still here, but it wasn't the same. I was just like sitting on decks looking at lakes and not even really hiking. Mm-hmm. But I was still up here.
Kari worked hard over the winter doing rehab and physical therapy in order to get back to the Boundary Waters.
I ended up having surgery in September of 24, and it is, like I said, it's a surgery in which they repair a bunch of stuff, so your body has to heal all of that, and your bones have to heal, and it's a 6-month to 12-month recovery, and I'm 9 months in. The first 6 months were really hard. I mean, I was tired. It was hard to, I had crutches. I got rid of the crutches pretty quick, but rebuilding that strength and rebuilding, because it was genetic and always there, I was never really walking right, apparently. So my muscles aren't the way they should be. So I'm still going to physical therapy every week. I'm doing a lot better, and I'm at the point where I've recovered enough that I can now start rebuilding that strength and that stamina, which isn't here. It doesn't exist right now.
This summer, in late June and into July, she made that return trip, paddling and portaging once again into the Boundary Waters.
You know, we just came back from a trip. It was a shorter trip than it was lengthwise in terms of how far we went. It wasn't how far I wanted to go. It was really hard to get there. It was the worst shape I've been in on a canoe trip in my life, but we still managed to go. We really enjoyed it. And when I get back, I'm going to start working with my physical therapist to start running again, because that's something I miss doing too. I used to run half marathons. I haven't run in a long time, so I feel old and tired, but I'm not giving up because I don't want to, because I can't give this up. I feel so much better when I'm doing this stuff, and it's my paradise. And maybe someday I'll have to just sit on a cabin deck or get a tow to Big Sag and sit on a campsite, but I'm not ready to have that be the only thing I do. I'll still do those things too. They're fun.
What is it that's motivating you to keep going? What is driving this? I'm going to keep making this happen. Where's that come from?
I think because it is such a paradise for me. So I always say you have to work hard to get to paradise. And when we've taken in friends who've never done it before, they're like, "What are you doing?" We once took friends from our kids' hockey team with us, 15 years ago, and we took them to Long Island. And I fell asleep laying on a tarp on the ground because we had to do most of the work because I didn't know what they were doing. And when I woke up, one of the people was like, "Why do you do this?" I'm like, look at it all around us. We're in paradise. You have to work hard to get to paradise, and for me, it's worth it. And for me, if I can get back in a little bit better shape, it's still going to be worth it, because I don't feel that way anywhere else. You can't do that anywhere else.
Kari will be turning 60 this year. She'll mark the occasion, of course, on the Gunflint Trail, surrounded by her friends and family.
And I am having my 60th birthday party up here at Poplar House, because that's where I'm going to celebrate.
And despite the abundance of love and connection that she has for this place, Kari has no plans to ever make it a permanent home. She wants it to be just that, a place where she can come to get away from the cities and the hustle and bustle and the news cycle on occasion. That was highlighted this summer during the tragic shooting of Melissa Hortman, a member of the Minnesota House of Representatives.
And that's the double-edged sword of the internet being available, because I don't want to know what's happening outside the wilderness, but you still find out. A really horrific, sad example of that is when former Speaker Melissa Hortman and her husband were murdered. We actually were up here. We were renting the Moose Ridge cabin at Voyager, and it was kind of a dry run trip to see if we thought it was my first try at paddling, but I had internet access, and so my phone just exploded that morning, and I couldn't get away from it. So I had 2 weeks of work in between that dry run trip and my canoe trip, and it probably was the most stressful 2 weeks of my work career, because it was really hard to do, and coming up here to escape was really something I needed.
What's so powerful about Kari's story is that it's so relatable. Not because most of us are working in high-stress news media production, work week in, week out, but that we are still living in that world. We're living in that world where news is unfolding fairly intensely all the time, as are our lives unfolding at it's what feels like an increasingly rapid pace. And I would imagine that most of our listeners, like me, really feel like that pace doesn't resonate with my own rhythms. And we have to retreat from it to the rhythms of the natural world.
And that's largely what Kari was describing as she was talking about a love of the Boundary Waters, where it all started, but also the Gunflint Trail, the conversations with Carl, the conversations with the folks at Poplar House, Voyager down at the end of the Gunflint Trail, Matt Cassidy, the people from, Bill and Cindy from Sawbill, like these people that make the place real for Kari, as well as, and as real as the loons and the moose. Like, they're all part of this experience of getting away. And to go back to at the beginning with the fires and the closure, and when we first met Kari at Rockwood, was that she wasn't just doing that and watching it there with us in the building because she's the producer of that show, but because she was interested in what was happening to the wilderness.
Her desire to be a part of that place in the same way that we all crave that connection to people and to water and to landscape is at our core in ways that none of us really know why, but damn it, we'll follow its call.
That's right. And a major shout out just to say thanks to Kari for taking some time and sharing this story. I mean, like the aspect of getting away and not thinking about media isn't to have somebody show up to your cabin with a microphone and be like, let's talk about stuff, you know. So like to take that time was really important, and we appreciate you, Kari, and thanks so much for what you do and for letting us come learn a little more about your story.
Thank you, Kari. Thank you to all the outfitters and the people of this place for making it what it is. Thank you to you, our listeners. Thank you to our sponsors. Thank you to you all for being a part of this community along with us. Can't say enough. We do it with you, for you, because of you. Go to paddleandportage.com. If you haven't signed up, go ahead and check it out. It's because of you, the members, Paddle and Portage, that really allows this work to continue, and the support of our sponsors. It's great.
I like to sing when I paddle canoe, feeling, not thinking if the strokes are true. We're gonna get through to the other side. Out in the night, the waves beat the shore. You can hear them pounding, you can hear them roar. Oh, roll me, rock me in my dreams. You can roll me, rock me in my dreams. So I like to sing, I love to dance. I play the fool if I got the chance. All around the campfire light, all around campfire light, all round, all round, all round the campfire light.